All right. I'm not sure how bright this is. It doesn't look very bright on my cell phone. I'm hoping you guys can see this. Unless there's a brightness feature. Hey, John, how are you? All right, well, I'm going to do a live today on some stuff a lot of people don't know about. And I'll start off, a couple days or maybe last week, somebody on the internet said, oh, they're not fixing our bridges and dams. And you know how that gets all crazy, and then people just start posting things they have no clue. So I love trying to think, well, why aren't they fixing our bridges and dams, Well, it takes a lot of research, and I'm going to try to wing this. I put some bunch of slides together, and it all comes down to, a lot of it comes down to water. Now, we all know we don't want to pump water and give it to Nestle's, but there's other water that people don't think about. It's called virtual water. And virtual water, we are pumping America dry, and a lot of people know about it except for we, the public. Just for example, when you have a bag of potato chips, to make those potato chips, you're talking 50 gallons of water. Think about it. 50 gallons of water gets pumped out to make that. A pair of jeans, I'm going to give you some crazy jean examples a little bit later. 2,800 gallons of water for a pair of jeans. Okay? And you got all those pair of jeans. Think about that. And that's water. A lot of times we're going to be talking about water that's pumped out of our aquifers. We're going to talk about pork. We're going to talk about pigs. And we're going to talk about wheat. So basically, when you're looking at this sheet here, you're going to see who are the vampires. Look at the green, means that's a lot of water getting pumped out of our ground and going. And you'll see later in a couple charts where this is going. And then these guys here, the people that make oil, which doesn't take a whole lot of water, they are vampiring us, and we're cutting deals with these people. So all these red areas are thieves. They're stealing our water, and we're just giving it to them. And I'm going to show you how this works. So I have a little slide presentation. So basically, here's our U.S., okay, and we're shipping out like 65% of our water that we pump out of the ground, and it's going over to here, Asia, okay, and then we're keeping some for ourselves, right? But look, there's a deficit here of virtual water, not of trade. And if you notice, people like Europe, they're vampires. These people steal all our water, and they use it, and we send it to them, and we deplete our sources while they don't deplete it. Same with these guys over here. All right, so you can see the U.S. We're the big suckers here. Okay, now we are. They tell us, hey, we import more than we export, which we're like, we got to fix that, right? So that's fine. And some people export more than they import. However, you got to think about what you're importing and what you're exporting. Now, when you're exporting products, for example, here I'm going to talk about a ton of wheat, okay? If you're exporting wheat, it's 400 gallons of water to grow this wheat, and it's pumped. A lot of it's pumped out of the aquifer. And so 400 gallons of water grow to wheat. Well, who's paying for that 400 gallons, and who's going to suffer from it? I'm going to show you in a minute who's suffering from it and who's not paying for it. In 2017, we exported 22 million metric tons of wheat, and we only brought in 3.3. So that's a pretty big deficit. I did a little bit of math on this. It came out to we're losing 7 billion gallons of water. We're pumping 7 billion gallons of water, and I'm going to show what that's doing to people on the West Coast and how people are being affected by this water that's being stolen from us and sent to people who are stealing it from us. So basically, Big Agri is stealing this water, and they're not paying for it. And this chart shows you the inflow of Europe and the oil countries, and we're going to get into the Mexico thing in a whole minute. I want to tell you about this whole Mexico thing. It's going to kind of blow your mind. And this is the kind, you're not going to see this stuff in the news. I had to go through all kind of different avenues to get stuff and kind of put it together. So let's talk about this wheat. So basically, I think we some of these are movies. I basically go around the country and I take photos. So I try to use my own photos. And this is out in the West, Midwest. And I think we came out to 7 billions of gallons was stolen. Okay, we just talked about that. This was the slide that was supposed to be there. Now, guess what they sent us? They're gonna send us fish. Oh, that's great, fish. Fish doesn't take a whole lot of water. I mean, you're talking about what, a couple gallons of water to prepare fish. So they're gonna send us fish, and we're gonna call that an import. They're gonna send us products that don't cost water, virtual water to make, and we're gonna send out products that are tremendous amounts of water. Like we sent out computers. A computer's like 30,000 gallons of water, okay, that we're using, that we're pumping. All right, and so basically this is kind of the same kind of chart we're looking at. I'm going to show you some pictures in a few minutes. But here you can see that now South America, they're kind of smart. They're like taking it from here and they're getting it back, and they're kind of like netting out here. So that's kind of a good deal when you net out here at zero. All right, but we're in the red like us, 25 to 40. We in Canada, and you can see we're like the biggest suckers of the world here. We're the suckers. We're the worst. They're stealing our water, and these other people, like China and India, they're stealing the water. Okay, so you can see what's happening here. It's not fair. Okay, so here's another one, cotton. So we grow the cotton, right? 1,800 gallons of water we pump out of the aquifer, and then what we do with this cotton, we send it to China, right? And so Wall Street, yeah, you're reading Wall Street. Oh, great export. Cotton's doing good. Wait a minute. That water was taken out of the aquifer. People are going to suffer I'm going to show you in about a couple minutes. Little kids in China are going to probably put these jeans together. They're going to say, wow, we're making money. And they're going to send it to Walmart, and we're going to run to Walmart and buy this. Okay, so basically they're like pillaging us here. This is I looked this up. And this is in 1995, and if you look here, by 2025, there's going to be a 40% depletion of our aquifer water, and it's probably that now. So basically, China, and I'll show you an example with alfalfa. They're the biggest. They take most of the virtual water. So basically, we're going to feed Chinese cows. All right, we're going to grow this stuff. 2 million metric tons goes to just Chinese cows. And so we're going to send this alfalfa to their little cows. And these cows actually are a movie. And not that we need the movie, but cows need to eat, right? So Chinese babies like milk. Right, of course they do. And so 1 gallon of milk needs 13 gallons of water to grow for alfalfa to feed a cow just for one day. So that's 1,300 gallons of water. And you know what? What's funny is that the Chinese probably don't want our cows. They have their own cows. Probably because they don't want our cows. Maybe because we vaccinate our cows. Who knows? All right. But we send them alfalfa to feed their cows. Right. And of course, they milk their cows. We feed them. Now, U.S. does consume a lot more meat, and I think we're consuming less. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. That's going to happen. Please don't call me while I'm doing this because it shuts down my feed, and we're probably going to have it happen a couple more times. So I was talking about America eating beef, and basically, let's just give it a sample. It's okay if we eat it here, but a cheese sandwich, 56 gallons, chips, with that. 12 gallons, that's 70 gallons. Throw some turkey on it, the meat, it's up to 160, have a pop. Your lunch just cost 200 gallons of virtual water. Okay, but you're an American, it's not so bad, but when you ship it out, it's different. Now, beef is conventionally raised, okay, and 14 months to 12 months, probably a lot of this beef is grazing. So, they may water the grounds or they get some rain, but then they bring them in and feed them water. And most of that water is pumped up. And so beef uses a ton of water because they eat corn. And an example, 147 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of corn. Now, a cow can eat a lot of pounds of corn. And so this comes out to around, a pound of beef that we send to Japan. Japan wants our beef. We send them beef, and we send them pig. 24 gallons of water. So think about it. We're like shipping them 2,400 gallons of water. It's not about the beef. It's about the water. They don't do their own beef. They get it from us. And now Japan's having some serious problems. I'm going to get into some crazy stuff here in a second. Cows, another one. Now, there's another problem with these pig and beef farmers. You know, I went out to the West Coast to see this, and these guys just basically are pigs. They are destroying the land, okay? And what happens is these pig farmers raise their pig, okay, and they pump water out of the ground, Arizona, Mexico, not in Mexico, but California, and this is what they do. These are pig farms, and what happens is these things are urine ponds, okay? These are full of urine, and they are all over the place. You know what they do to these urine ponds at night? They aerosolize them. Try to go on Google and try to find this. You're not going to find it. Somehow they got this completely hidden. But if you drive the entire Mexican border, you can't breathe. And so these are these plants, and I've done this. I went down there to get these photos. I have lots of photos of this, and I'll tell you what, it's horrible. So they aerosolize this stuff, okay? So that's how they get rid of it. And this is what happens. Here's a place that used to be a resort called the Salton Sea. And this might be a movie here. This is me walking on Salton Sea. And yes, those are all dead fish, okay? But if you go to the Salton Sea, it takes you a couple hours to go around it. You'll find out that all the hotels are closed. There's 2 hotels left, and it stinks so bad because they aerosolize. All the people left. No one's going to this place for vacations anymore. All the buildings are closed. If you want to go on a good urban exploration, go to Salton Sea, and you will freak out. It's crazy. Plus, that's another place where they test all kind of weapons up in the mountains. All right, so there's a lot of government stuff going on here too. So pair of jeans. You know, we talked about the computer. Oh, I'm sorry, 7,300 for the computer. So when we ship out computers, that's how much water it took. So now Japan, you know, they need water, right? We talked about, you know, virtual water. They like to eat their pork. Yes, they love pork, and we like pork too. You know. We're eating it, so you know it's our water. We can eat our pork. This is one of a pig that I did in the summer, but it's not bad. It's ours. Now Japan has a whole new set of problems. Now they're importing a lot more. And what happened to Japan exactly 7 years ago is they had 4 nuclear power plants explode, and because of that, it pretty much caused that cancer rates to skyrocket. But not only that, there's 33 million tons of radioactive cesium 134 and 137, and they're putting this all over Japan. And this is an aerial view, and these are little roofing membranes they're putting down, and these are bad. I'm going to show you a close-up of this. It's pretty crazy. I did this video last week. It was a half-hour video. If you want to see all the cool stuff, go back in my feed, and I also put it on YouTube if you want to watch this whole Fukushima thing. So this is just a couple slides I'm going to use for my last week. But here you can see these idiots are putting these are literally tens of thousands of bags of cesium and radioactive debris next to the Pacific Ocean. Now, who's thinking here? What do you think is going to happen the next time there's another tsunami, okay, or a storm? And they've already had this stuff floating down their rivers, and they're contaminating all their water. Here's an aerial. There's your Olympics. Hey, you guys going to go to Olympics? Okay, there we go. CZ right there behind the tennis courts, all right? So the Olympics will be right in the middle of this. And actually, here's the tennis courts. Here's the baseball. They're going to be playing baseball here. Don't hit it out too far because it's going to land in a cesium pile. All right? And so, by the way, they're also irrigating and sending us rice. Okay? And that's a problem. So China, now, on the other hand, you know, they're bad too. So we grow the cotton for China. And of course, you know, cotton takes a lot of water. So we will send them cotton. Then basically they will have little kids make jeans, and then they'll put holes in it because we're that stupid to buy pants with holes in them. And basically they're gonna ship it, sell it to Walmart, and we're gonna end up buying the jeans back from them. Now, in Mexico, you know, they will import corn, a lot of corn. And if you notice, there's a lot of bridges I found that are going over rivers that are dry. We're going to talk about that in a second. And like, so when you hear, oh, they're not fixing the bridges, well, let's think about this. They're dilapidating. A lot of these bridges, and I'm going to show you a second reason why they're not fixing a lot of them, they don't go over anything. And a lot of these places have been shut down, so there's bridges going over places that don't have water anymore. The Colorado is dry, man. It's dry from Lake Mead all the way to Mexico. And we'll talk about that, all right, and why it's dry. And this is kind of cool. Not really, but this is a picture when I'm flying over Lake Mead. And this picture is 10 years old. And here's the marina, all nice and hanging out. And, oh, let's go on the boat time. Let's go, let's go fishing, water skiing. Okay, I went back 2 years ago. That's your marina right now. I had to walk about 4 miles through this desert here to get to it. There's nothing there, man. There's no water. This is all gone. Lake Mead is down. And if it keeps going, now I know this year they got some water, okay, and that's a whole other video. But they did get some water, but nothing like what they need. And so there's no water going to Mexico. Okay, and this is Lake Mead. I'm walking through, parts of it. There's nothing there. There's no water there. Hey Sandra, hey Terry, hey Nick, how you guys doing? Thanks for coming on. And there's no boats allowed. Of course, there's no water. Now let's go back to the Mexican border. So, and my slides aren't really like in order but I'm going to try to make it work. Let's talk about the border. That is the wall, right? Oh, the wall. Who's going to pay for the wall? Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Now, let's think about why Mexico might help out with the wall. Well, let's think about this. The Colorado River's dry. We got a lot of water up north. We put water in Lake Mead. Lake Mead is a water bank. We send it back down the river. We give them some water. I think they're going to build us a wall if we give them some water. Oh, yeah. I think so. I think that's a big-ass secret no one's telling you about. But here's your wall. And here's another thing they're doing. You drive this wall, and I did drive that wall. Of course I did. All the way to Phoenix. And all these farmers were and I drove at night just to see when they do this shit. Man, I every 45 miles, I would almost puke because there were 45 miles, like it was 45 miles of almost puking, and then you're cool for about 20 miles, and then you start puking again because all these shit farmers, these pig farmers, are pumping this stuff 300 feet, aerosolizing it. And are contaminating the entire border in southern California and southern Arizona, okay? Now, let's talk about aquifers. So how do they get this water? Well, they're pumping it out. And you can see the hot spots where we're having some problems now. We need water. Hey, Terry. Hey, Brian. Hey, Nick. And then and if you look at here, these are the depleted aquifers. I didn't put all the charts on here, but the yellows and the oranges, I mean, we're depleting these, and the people that have wells no longer have water. And I'll show you that in a second. There's whole towns now where here's a guy that has a well, and there's no water. Guess what? He's going to be forced to move out, and they're not going to bring him water, and they're not fixing the roads to some of these places, and I'm going to show you that. That's going to blow your mind, and why they're not fixing roads, why they're not fixing bridges, why they're decommissioning dams, okay? So here's the aquifers getting depleted, and you can see here, this is down like, I don't know, a couple hundred feet. I mean, that white used to be where Lake Mead was, okay? And there's my buddy. We're like, he's walking to Lake Mead. He's like, where am I going to go swimming? There's no more water, And you can see where they're totally depleting. Now, this area here is getting so depleted, and you can see what's happening to. We have 3 huge aquifers. There's a lot of other ones, but these are getting really bad now on the West Coast, and they're metering people. So this is what happens. So you got a well, right? And let's pretend he's a little grape farmer, Joe's Grapes down at the vineyards over there. And then this is Big Agra. Oh, he's got the 1,000,000-gallon, per day pump, right? And he's pumping 20 gallons a minute or something like that. So he starts pumping so much that he drops the water table. And Mr. Man over here, he can't get any more water. His well's dry. He goes out of business. That's another thing that happens. The little guys keep getting gobbled up by the big guys. Well, you know what? The big guys got bigger pumps, and they're pumping it dry, man. And now there's meetings, and people are getting all pissed off because they got to go to these meetings, and they're metering them. How much water they're taking out of the ground on the West Coast. They're like, you're going to pay for this now. You can only take so much water, so it's affecting businesses, okay? And so the pumps are pumping deeper. The big agri guys are doing it, Okay, now there's laws. There's all kind of new laws, House bills, and like in Oklahoma, there's a guy in Oregon who got sentenced to jail, man, for 30 days, the $1,500 fine because he was collecting rainwater. I mean, there's a bunch of states that have laws. They're all kind of different. They're all working their way. And like Colorado used to have it, you couldn't, but now they're like, all right, we're going to let you guys, they're letting them smoke weed, so they might as well let them have a little bit of water. So they're allowed 2 rain barrels, okay? That's it for your garden. That's it, man. You ain't you're not going to be running sprinkler systems anymore. And there's a ton of states right now that have all kind of laws. And Ohio is one of these states that has a law as well. You can look this stuff up. A lot of this is out there. You can find this if you look for it. It's not going to be on today's news, though. But there's different bills. They all have different purposes. And some of the bills are designed like the Water Act for 2060. That's what they call it. In other words, by that year, they don't expect to have anybody use any of God's water, And matter of fact, there's no one going to be living in Oklahoma anyways. I'm going to show you that map in a couple minutes. And so we've got all these bills, laws, regulations. And by the way, the Ohio one is basically you're not allowed to pump water anywhere or use water unless it's for yourself. Okay, unless it's for your own garden. They're kind of cool with this, all right, for now. But you know what's going to happen? Agenda 21, I'm going to show you this in a second. Pretty soon, they're going to monitor how much water you can put in your garden, and before you know it, you're not going to be able to have gardens in the ground anymore. They're going to have to be above ground, and there's going to be the garden police. Yes, there's going to be garden police. There's already water police in a lot of states. You don't hear about it. They're there. They're out there, and they're arresting people, and they're making people move out of their homes, and they're decommissioning whole towns all over the country. Now, maybe this will be the way we're going to have to do this. Maybe we put our gardens on our roof, okay? And so we're not really stealing water. The rain's just raining on our roof, and then we just, we graze our cattle on top of our roof. Yeah, that's a roof with goats, okay? And those are trained goats. They know not to jump off the roof, okay? And, hey, John. Okay, so now let's talk about some crazy shit. This is Earth Summit, okay? And they meet every 20 years, all right? And this particular year was in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And you got 108 countries. That's pretty much all of them. And in that year, they pretty much attacked America. We're like really bad people. And that's where this whole spread the wealth shit came from. It's not about spreading the wealth from rich. You guys are crazy if you think they're talking about taking money from the rich people of America and giving it to the poor. That's not what they're doing, man. They're spreading the wealth to the world. They're trying to decommission America. This is what this is. Agenda 21. Look it up. Look at ECLI. United Nations already owns this country. They're in 700 different cities and counties, and they go under a lot of hidden names. Not under ECLI. It used to be. Now they're hiding it. It's 1,700 books you could read. You could become an ECLI member, and they'll send you this stuff, and it's all about sustainable shit, okay? All those sustainable NGOs, it's all there. It's all Agenda 21. So let's look at this. This is called the Biodiversity Treaty, and basically this is real, man. This is happening, okay? If you look at the red zones, these red zones here, they're going to go to, they call Agenda 21. They're talking about the 2100, and we're going to try to get to it during that. But now they got Agenda 2030 to Agenda 2050. They are at warp speed with this shit. Okay, so this is wilderness maps, and you'll see these are places where there's going to be no humans allowed in these areas. And these are the areas where they're not fixing the roads, they're not fixing the dams, the cities are dying, and there's no water, they're depleting the water, okay? Then you go over to here to federally owned land, green, and our administration is going to sell the federal parks to private companies. Gee, I wonder why. Because these are straw men. These are straw men. It's not gonna be for us anymore. Maybe we'll go as baby boomers, but our millennials' children, if they have any, aren't going to go because they're going to be there, man. Okay, and so you look at this. This is it. Now, this is pretty crazy. Look how much land the government already owns. And you'll hear about the people down in Florida. They're all pissed off, with the Everglades, and they keep taking more land, and they're taking more land here and more land here. And then you got the pipeline people and the Indians. We gave the Indians the land. Now we're going to take it back. Seriously? Really? Is that what we're going to do to them? Yeah, of course we're going to do that to them. And then you got the cattle farmers, that whole thing. That disappeared off the news pretty quick. What's going on with that? So here's your simulated map. You can look this up. They keep changing the name. And you know what's really funny? I'd spent at least 30 hours trying to find an updated map. No, not out there. They're not giving it to us, okay? So you got to do your own. So what I do is I got to start looking up all kind of crazy stuff, right? So I look at where the emerging populations are going, and you can see what's happening, and there's tiny houses, stacking packs, 30,000, 10,000, 20,000. And you can see where people are moving, and we're not going to need as many cars. And I talked to some people, some uppers, and I said, what are we going to do? You guys take away all our fossil fuels? You're going to have windmills and you're going to have solar panels? No, we're not going to have as many cars on the road. Of course not, because we're all going to be living in these areas, and people are moving to these areas. And you don't see a whole lot of new houses going up. You see them 3-story non-elevator houses going everywhere. And then you guys are getting suckered into this tiny house shit. Oh my God, that's social engineering, man. And people think it's so cute. Look at the tiny little house. Oh, it's gonna be so cute. You're a retard, man. You're an idiot. You're being taken. All right. So here we go. Let's move on. And I don't know why it's not moving. Hold on. And okay, so I don't know quite happened here, but okay, so moving right on. So we'll just go to here. I'm not going to do the full screen. So here we have dams. What's happening to our dams? Hey Eric, hey Andy, hey Margaret. What's going on with our dams? Oh, we're taking them down. Oh yeah, we got to take the dams down. The salmon aren't in the rivers. Well, let's talk about just one river. All right, and there's about 20 dams or 10 dams. They took them all down. And the Colorado River, and basically the engineer says the salmon aren't coming back. They can't come back. They'll never come back. Well, guess what? They get fired. I think one of those guys committed suicide. A lot of people always commit suicide in America, scientists and, whistleblowers. They all kill themselves. I don't get it, but forget that for a minute. So they take the dams down, and the people they listen to are people that use presumptive thinking. Somebody who knows nothing about fish, nothing about water, nothing about dams says, well, the salmon just might come back. Okay, that's good enough for us. Tear the dams down. And where the dams are going down, so are the roads, so are the bridges, and those towns are going away. And they're all in those zones you looked at. If you look up this map and you start making your own map, you're going to find out a lot of the stuff is all happening in these areas. This is real. This is happening. And I'm trying to move my, okay. And this is really happening, okay. And then you've got bridges that aren't being repaired. And this map isn't that good. And I'm starting to look at, like, there's literally tens of thousands of bridges. And they're always in these red areas. They're not going to fix those bridges, okay. No, they're not. They're not going to fix them. And so to make a long story short, this is what we're looking at. This is the end game, folks. This is the end game, and I know we started with water. I'll have some final comments with the water, but here's your end game. You're basically, if you look here, these are the white or buffer zones. Only special people can go there. The red areas are going to be corridors. No humans at all. The colors aren't coming out in here. And then, of course, there's going to be a border, right? The border. And isn't it kind of funny how they're building the wall now, and they're using bad people as building the wall? That's not why they're building the wall, man. They're building it because people come in our country and kill people. No, it's way bigger than that, man. Way bigger than that. And so, the right hand, you're all watching the right hand, but the left hand's doing all the work. And a lot of this stuff you have to almost put together. So this is like, you're looking at America here, okay? And you should do some of this work yourself. And what you're going to do is you're going to listen to these clowns on the news, and they're going to start talking about how somebody's not fixing a bridge, but they're not going to tell you the whole story and why that bridge isn't being fixed. They're not going to tell you about the water being depleted. And so back to the water depletion. I think what we need to do is we need to, and isn't it funny how we're now going to tariff? We're going to tariff people like China? Gee, Why are we terrorizing China? Maybe because they're taking our water. Maybe this is a water thing. It probably is, because we're sending them our water. We're depleting our aquifers. Our people in America are getting kicked out of their homes because they can't have water. Okay, they're metering businesses, so the big businesses take over and they're going out of business. Okay, and then in the meantime, they're shipping us back their shit. We call it imports. And the imports, a lot of them don't use a lot of water. And so these people, we're using water to export, and we're importing stuff that doesn't take water. And that's a real problem. And guess what? Nobody is paying for this water. Nobody. And we're talking miles and miles of water. They measure it in miles. And we are just draining America. And we're doing some other bad things too. I mean, we're doing all the atmospheric work now. I mean, it's a whole nother way of stealing water. So if you can't pump water out of Lake Erie, well, maybe you could evaporate it. Oh, and how would they do that? Oh, you know what? Bill Gates has 400 patents on that. And we have been atmospherically conditioning, doing geoengineering solar reflectors for 60 years. We're pretty damn good at this. I mean, we did it in Vietnam. The Chinese, they told us they did it so they would get rain during their Olympics. Okay, and so they could control the weather a little bit by seeding it, and they have these things called ionic heaters. And you hear about the one HARP. Everyone talks about that one. But you know what? What about all the analog towers? They're still standing, and we're not using them. So what are they doing with that? So basically, they're heating the ionosphere, and they're moving the jet streams. They can do this. They've been doing this for years. They can alter the weather. And, of course, they can also easily cause evaporation of the lake. And I don't know if you've been watching, but for the last 4 years, I've been watching Lake Erie right around July and August, and I take pictures of it, and I watch at 3 in the morning. They do their little jet dance up there, and they aerosolize, and by morning time, they create this desirable evaporation condition, and then you watch the clouds, just humongous clouds, and by like 5 o'clock, these things are so hot, and then all of a sudden, they start moving, and then I actually followed up a couple of times, and most of the time they cross over by Peary and Ashtabula, and then they just disappear. It gets colder, and then they get up to the jet stream, and they probably move them, and then it rains somewhere like on a farm, on one of these big pharma farms, with that pumped full of chemicals and pesticides. Well, anyways, I think this is it. We are getting our water pumped out of the ground. Nobody knows about it. We're being depleted, and we're shipping it out to people. We are distributing the wealth. That's what we're doing. All right, thanks for being here. Last week I did Fukushima. You guys could look at it. That was on YouTube. I think YouTube we're going to make it hard to find. So it'll be on my Facebook for a while. And then next week, 7:30, I'm going to do another one on another crazy thing. I don't know. I've got a couple in the bag. I just got to see how much time I have, and I'll be back next week, 7:30, for another crazy real news show. Thank you all, Bill, Paris, Margaret, and whoever else is still on. Thanks for watching. And this was Marko Live, Sunday, 7:30. Good night.